Da ønsker jeg velkommen til webinar for tro og medier. Jeg håper du er påkoblet her. Det er jo alltid spennende med dette tekniske. Men Markus, vil du ta også sende en e-post til den siste som jeg sendte til deg? Og sender den lenken en gang til, for jeg fikk en melding om at den ikke var kommet inn. Da går jeg over til engelsk. Og Dr. Dave Curry, welcome to this webinar, and it is a great honor to have you with us. In
Mhm.
the picture is also Rune Tobiasen, who is the leader of Faith and Media, and he will be sharing some words at the very end of the webinar.
Mhm.
So, Marcus just told me there are 23 couples
Mhm.
connected to this webinar, and we are very excited to have you, Dr. Dave Curry, and listen to your wisdom. We have spoken some and have gotten to know you. So I'm just going to give the words to you and have
Mhm.
you share from both your ministry, your life, and you can introduce yourself. You've done that a couple times now, and it's very nice to hear.
Yeah, good, good. Listen, I really appreciate that, Alexis, and it's such an honor to be part of Faith and Media here and to be working with this group. I really feel honored to be here. And you're listening saying, okay, well, who is this guy and why are we listening to him? Let me give you a bit of a snapshot. I'm actually married 51 years to my wife, Donna Lynn. We have four married kids and 13 grandkids. That part of the story makes me a millionaire right there. I love my family a ton, and I'm so blessed to have the whole crew in my life. What else do you need to know about me? A couple of master's degrees, one in counseling, one in Christian education, focusing on youth development, a PhD in marriage and family, focusing on, uh, yeah, just really how to go deeper in the most important relationships. I oversee an organization in Canada called Doing Family Right, which is, of course, God's way. And I have two counseling centers there where I oversee about 32, 33 counselors in two centers. And so I'm the privileged to mentor them and oversee the ministry, both the preventative side, traveling and speaking like this here in Norway for the last week already, and also the remedial side, which is helping people through difficult things. Specifically, why am I here talking to you about the way of freedom for a couple, way of freedom beyond the struggle with pornography, how to recover as a couple, or however you want to put it, is because every week in my life in Canada, I'm working with couples in the whole area of sexual addiction or porn addiction recovery, its impact on the marriage, its impact on the relationship, and how to help that man get freedom and how to help the woman through partner betrayal trauma where she feels betrayed by the steps that the husband has taken, whether he has acted outside the marriage or been limited to online activity. Regardless, there's a lot of hurt there. And so I lead a program called Regroup, which stands for Recovery Group. We run about 80 men through it a week in four different groups. And then there's also uh, about four partner groups as well, where women can meet with other women who are facing the same kind of hurts with the struggles with their husband, with the porn issue or beyond. And we also have a recovery group for women who struggle with sexual addiction as well. So that's my story. So every week I'm speaking on the issues related to porn addiction recovery. And yeah, so there's the backstory. That being said, I've been privileged to step into your world, as it were. Thank you for trusting the team who has trusted me, and hopefully this will be encouragement. So I'm going to start with just a couple of scenarios of what I counsel, what I deal with, because you're going to be able to put yourself in some of these categories. I have a young wife who's only 3 years married, and she's suspicious that her husband is not always focused on her and a little distracted. And she says, "Hey, are you doing okay? Or are you looking at things you shouldn't be?" This kind of, "Oh no, not me," and all this, and she grows more mm, concerned and frankly doubtful in his response that there's nothing going on. And one night when he's away, she checks his computer or grabs his phone or whatever, and she discovers that there's all kinds of history that shows there's a lot of porn viewing going on, and that's how it opens up. I have other couples who, most guys, by the way, have struggled with porn from someplace between 10 and 13. Certainly in their early formative years as a teenager. And they've carried it with them for a long time. Maybe they've hit it, maybe they haven't. Maybe they told their wife, "I struggle with this, but I kind of got it under control," when they got married. And 15 years later, they're 35, 37, 40, and it comes up again. And, they've been struggling with porn the whole time through. Depending on the nature of the person's addiction, I work with people who their addiction has continued to grab a hold of them and take more and more of their life. And so they're starting to entertain conversations online with real people, or actually having sexual encounters online with real people, or they are actually rendezvousing with people. And whether it's hookups through websites where they're just designed for sexual rendezvous, or whether it's actually prostitutes where the person has its sexual addiction has just continued to complicate their life. So there's a lot of hurt depending on where you're at. And I tell people it's different stories, but it's the same pain. There's two different sides of the pain. One is the husband who just feels, shame and regret and remorse, embarrassment, and but has tried maybe for years to kind of put this behind him, and he keeps relapsing, or might be good for 6 months and then goes back, and then he's not doing well for 3 or 4 months, and so there's all kinds of different scenarios there, but there's a sense of sometimes hopelessness. Sometimes I can't get by this. I haven't been able to get the help I need. Most of them haven't reached out for help. But so there's a lot of men that are hurting and stuck in an addictive cycle. We call it the PMO cycle, porn, masturbation, orgasm cycle, where they're looking at something, or they're objectifying somebody or whatever, and they masturbate to the point of orgasm, and that, of course, is what's creating the high addictive nature of the problem. Now we got a wife who has sadly heard that he struggled with it earlier, but he was assuring her that everything's behind them, and it isn't behind them. And she discovers more. In most cases, they discover, but in some cases, the guy just wants to come clean, and he discloses that he's struggling and he's going to get some help. Yeah. Here's another sad thing. If there's a situation where a young man reached out at 19 or 20, went and talked to a youth pastor or counselor to get the help with the porn addiction, and he doesn't get help, it just maybe goes only 3 times, thinking that's going to be enough. He doesn't get the help he needs. Very, very rarely do they go back and look for help a second time. So we got to do our best. If people do come forward, we got to help them well. And so yeah, I mean, to be very fair, I would say 2/3 of my world is working with the men to get freedom. And then the other third that's left, half of that third is working with partners. The other half is helping people put their marriages back together beyond the porn struggle. So there's a bit of a snapshot. At any given time, I'm working with 12 to 16 couples who are working through the porn situation. And yeah, so there's why I'm here. What I have projected to do first is the document that says what's fair for wives to expect as their husbands recovering from the sexual addiction. What's fair for the wife to expect? And of course, if I'm going to say that, I'm actually going to invite a conversation that you will have with one another. If Dr. Dave says that's a good thing for me to expect of you, honey, that means you need to be doing some of these things. So for the guy, this is a check to see if you're heading in the right direction, and for the woman to see if he's heading in the right direction. Fair? And so that's where we're going to go here. So what I want you to do is use this guide sheet to talk through what the recovery plan looks like and how the addiction is affecting the marriage, and what the wife especially feels she needs from a husband, and the husband level of commitment to this whole recovery process is really significant. He should have a whatever it takes attitude, and really be committed in attitude and action to really put this behind him. Yeah. So husbands, I want you to score yourself as well, as the wife is going to walk through this and consider how you're doing. So this is what I think is fair for the spouse to expect for the man who's in a recovery journey. First of all, it's going to take sincere effort. You got to work hard to show that you want to rebuild trust and be free of the addiction. So you're going to try to, on one hand, to get free of the addiction, the other hand, work to rebuild trust with your spouse because they've been hurt by this. This is a bit of a graphic picture. Forgive me, but the the husband invariably has taken a revolver, obviously figuratively, and he has, through the sexual addiction, the porn acting out, whatever, he has shot his wife and hit her in the chest, hit her in the shoulder. And he's holding a smoking gun, and he says, honey, forgive me. I'm really sorry. I won't do that again. And then 4 or 5 days later, or 3 months later, boom, he fires again, and she takes another shot. And you're wanting to try to rekindle love. You're trying to, move forward. Can you forgive me? And you're sitting there holding a smoking gun. And so she's not really wanting to get close to you because you're the one that just hurt her. So you're not likely the one to be the best to be her counselor and her guide through what she needs to be working on. And so, yeah, just got to understand that there needs to be some real sincere effort on the person that's struggling with the addiction to really show that they want to rebuild trust and be free. Secondly, raw honesty. With any sexual relapse, the rule we have is you got to tell your spouse and your spiritual accountability partner. Often we call it a SAP, your SAP, yeah, but your spiritual accountability partner or your wingman within 24 hours. So if I looked at something inappropriate tonight, by tomorrow night at this time, I will have told my accountability partner and told my wife that I have had a relapse. There has to be honesty. You're going to rebuild trust. You got to understand that for most men who struggle with addiction in some area, porn, sexual addiction, whatever, they're also equally addicted to lying. Sorry to say, but they're really good at lying because they've been hiding things, withholding information, burying things, keeping secrets for a long time. That's part of the game. Understand, when a young man at 12, 13, 14 starts to get involved in porn, looking at porn, what happens is they actually start to pull away from others. They don't want to be close, even to guy friends, because they don't want to have it discovered. They don't want to somehow, be, felt less than because of their struggles. And so, what they do is they actually pull away. They isolate themselves. They keep secrets not just from their girlfriend or later their wife, but they don't get close to other men. And we say the opposite of addiction is connection. That he needs to learn to reconnect again, to learn to be known and still loved, to learn to be vulnerable, to learn to disclose, not just with a spouse, but with another man, so that he can work these things through. And by the way, girls listening, we believe that men make men. That he needs to have a couple of good people in his life that are going to hold him accountable. It's not a good idea for you to be the cop, for you to be always having to check up and ask and all that. It's hard on you. It's hard enough to try to work through being his friend and lover, let alone his cop too. And so that's why we need to have really good people in his life that you trust. That wingman needs to be somebody that you trust. So yeah, raw honesty. Thirdly, the husband's got to seek some counseling, specifically in the area of sexual addiction recovery. And listen, it's wise, and I don't know what's available here, but in North America, U.S. and Canada where I live, we have people that are sexual recovery therapists who actually have taken some training to specialize in this area. And it's one of the tools in my toolbox. And about 5 of my staff on our team are actually have the similar training with the American Association of Sexual Addiction Therapy. But at least if you're going to go for counseling, men, try to get someone who knows about sexual addiction recovery, or at least addiction recovery. But like I wouldn't help somebody with a drug addiction. I don't feel qualified for that. I know lots about addiction, and I've taught master's level courses, but there's a knack to specializing in these different things. And so, but these men need to go get some help. And I would say that, men that are coming to me with their spouses, and, I just confessed to my wife that I've been struggling with porn and we're trying to work it through. So I'll likely, start out with a couple of sessions with them together. Then I'll do 6 or 8 sessions with him alone, then back to them again. And he will also get in one of our groups because, counseling isn't the magical pill that all of a sudden things are fixed. Counseling is going to help you work through things. And and so we'll get into that. So counseling, software installed. What do we mean by that? Some version of software that does 2 things. One is it prevents, it blocks you from getting to any questionable sites. And secondly, it reports in. You have a weekly accountability sheet from this service that goes to your accountability partner, not your wife, goes to the guy that's holding you accountable. And she trusts the guy and you that if you have a relapse, you'll tell her within 24 hours. That has to be that. But there's software installed, and there's lots of different ones. There's 2 or 3 we use in Canada. And and it comes out of the U.S. The one we use most often is called Covenant Eyes. I like it because it's a solid Christian organization, and they're always bringing up new resources. And I know the people personally, but I don't get any sidekick for mentioning that. So it's not about that. I just trust them. But software that's going to filter, that means block, and accountable, report in. And there needs to also be some limitation of what apps you have on your phone, because most apps have a back door that you can get into the internet in other ways. And so just agree on what apps are going to be kept, and then only let your spouse be the one with the password to let you put new apps on. Fifthly, that responsible husband, and which is fair for the wife to accept or expect, is that he's going to work hard to avoid temptations. If there's certain restaurants that were a problem to him, he's not going to go back there again. If there's certain people that were a frustration or a temptation to him, he's going to avoid those people. There's no compromise, no excuses, no second looks. And so it really doesn't matter what the source of the temptation was. With the counselor, the gentleman will do a sexual addiction, a temptation analysis, and to see the source of his temptations. And if it's constantly, on the I'm reaching my phone. If it's constantly on the phone that you're tempted with, well, we're going to have software on this phone so you can't get to anything questionable, right? And so we're going to avoid temptations. Where's the last 3 or 4 places you looked at porn? And we got to address that. We got to blockade that. We got to cut access to that. That's the number 5, avoiding temptations. And the wife should see that the husband is working hard on that. Number 6, he's got to get accountable. I implied it earlier. That's the spiritual accountability partner, or the wingman. Wingman goes back to World War II, where as I flew in the cockpit of my plane, in my blind spot behind me on each side was places the enemy could come from, and I couldn't see him. And so a wingman is a person who watches my blind spot. So by definition of a wingman, I need to have a wingman in my life who is going to hold me accountable to what I want in my life. And they meet regularly. That's weekly for, every second week, maybe an hour, and then the odd weeks off, maybe just a half an hour. Sometimes it could be online, but at least every second week has to be in person. We're going to be accountable. And by the way, that accountability also includes daily check-ins, that I'm all clear. All clear means I didn't look at anything or objectify anybody or cross any boundaries that I've set for what's acceptable. And so I'm accountable weekly, and I'm accountable daily. Number 7, the man has to share with his wife what his recovery is going to look like. And he should outline in detail the steps he's taking towards sexual integrity, towards freedom and purity. And I'm sure whatever counselor you work with, there would be a sexual addiction recovery plan where you have certain activities you're going to do, certain boundaries you're going to set, certain consequences that you'll experience if you cross boundaries. And so the husband is going to explain his journey. Now, remember, I've said that he's not going to be working this alone. And so you'll see number 8, there is this program buy-in, which means he needs to be in a program that is going to help him get beyond the pornography. And just so you know, it's just not like come for 6 weeks and see if it helps. I tell guys, measure it in months and years, don't measure it in weeks. So if you're meeting weekly for an hour and a half with a group that's helping people recover from sexual addiction, porn addiction, you need to be at least meeting for a year and a half, or at least till you get 365 days all clear. No porn, no objectifying, no scoping, no online anything, and obviously no interaction with real people in an inappropriate way. So we call it program buy-in. So whatever the program is here, our program actually, beyond the teaching that I do every week, excuse me, beyond the teaching I do every week, we have a 12-step program that they need to do. Excuse me. That's good. Oh, I love this. Sorry.
You're doing fine, Dr. Dave.
Yeah, I'm on hour 4 of teaching today, so I apologize. It's coming back. So the recovery, some kind of program. The husband has to be in. to walk with other people so that they have a game plan and brothers in arms, brotherhood, whatever you call it here, where I know that I have people that have my back. And that doesn't mean have my back to hide stuff, but we call it grit and grace. I need to be brave enough to call you on your stuff with a little grit, but I continue to love you and extend grace to you as Jesus does to me. And so, yeah, program buy-in. The guys can't leave our program till they've completed the 12-step program thoroughly. And it runs parallel. They do that on their own with the help of other guys. Number 9, spiritual growth. It's fair for the wife to expect that the husband wants to dig down and grow in his faith. What happens is with the sexual addiction, the husband does not feel close to God. And sin separates me. And yes, God is God of grace, but unconfessed sin is putting distance between me and the Lord. I don't feel at peace in his presence when I continue to act out. And so I want to go back to the Lord, recommit my life to him, receive his forgiveness and his grace for my mistakes. Ask my wife for the same forgiveness, but then be faithful to Bible reading and prayer and whatever you guys do in your world with regard to regular church attendance. It has to be changing this man's life. It's really important for the husband to realize that he needs to be patient on the intimacy push sexually. On one hand, we don't want the wife to punish or starve him. On the other hand, we have to ask for understanding because there can be a lot of hurts and triggers, as she catches herself thinking about maybe what you've been doing. And, it's really sad. I tell women every time, but it's like they don't believe me, but I got a lot of experience, and I'm telling you it's true. It's not your fault. When he was likely long addicted before you even came into his life. And he didn't get it out of his life when he started dating you and then married you. And the truth is, it wouldn't matter if he'd married Betty, Sally, Tina, Ingrid, it wouldn't matter. He'd have to work this through with somebody. And so it's you. But it's not because of you. But every woman goes, well, why would he be going to look at that? What's wrong with me? And, am I not tall enough, short enough? And then all the other characteristics, busty enough? Am I not, sexy enough or whatever? Every woman goes the same thing. And then she wonders, well, what's he looking at? And, well, I got to see what he's looking at. No, you don't. It'll just make you crazy. So be patient there, guys. Don't be pressuring your wife to be into it until she's genuinely ready. And that'll be different for different people. Number 11, a wise husband who's on a good recovery journey, he volunteers how he's doing. What I mean by that, he shares, I teased that, hey, 9 o'clock on Sunday nights before we start the week, I'm going to just give you a 15-minute report on how I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I did this work this week. I was at the group this week. I checked in with Bill this week, my accountability partner. I'm all clear, 117 days today, this kind of talk, right? And he volunteers that. She shouldn't have to be, hey, I thought you were supposed to talk to me, and all this stuff. No. He's going to be a big boy, and he's going to volunteer. Matter of fact, if he's had a problem with looking at pornography in his own bathroom, The phone doesn't go in the bathroom. We got boundaries, right? But he's going to volunteer, and you can. I don't have it in my list of documents here, but I got a document called weekly recovery update, which the husband just finishes the sentences and tells his wife what he's been up to as far as his recovery. And finally, the husband needs to show evidence that he really wants to rebuild love and trust with his wife, that his care, his patience needs to be seen. He needs to make time for some us times to show warmth. Us times is like a date, just the two of you together. And he needs to really go at her pace, but he needs to be making an effort. And what's really sad? A lot of men, especially when they're just coming out of the addiction, they're really good at blaming other people, and it has nothing to do with the wife. And so they're actually what I call emotional adolescents. Matter of fact, it's a bit of a fact that does happen, that when a young man starts looking at porn at 11, 12, 13, 14 and gets actually addicted at that level, they flatten emotionally. They don't keep maturing about responsibility and taking care of things and apologizing where needed. They don't keep maturing. They flatten. And I got people that are 55 and they're still acting like a 13, 14-year-old. Well, it's not my fault. How come you and you expect too much? And they just sound like a kid who just was asked to take out the garbage. And they're making all these excuses about why it's not my turn and why shouldn't my sister and all this. It's just emotional adolescence. It's what happens because they're so preoccupied with addiction, they don't mature. And so, yeah, guys don't like to hear that, but that's what's happened all the time. That's what's behind the defensiveness. That's what's behind the blaming. That's what's behind sometimes the anger. And yeah, so the idea of pursuing. Now you notice that as part of this handout, I created some going deeper questions in your recovery. And those are designed for you to work through on your own based on this list of, 12 things which are fair for the wife to expect. And so, yeah, guys should not be going, I don't want to talk about that. I don't think she needs to know that. Don't give me that. That's emotional adolescence again. That's you got to grow up. And yeah, matter of fact, if you want to talk grow up, I don't know if you got all of the documents or whether they're going to be sent one at a time, but I want to look at the document called Coming Clean now. The value of honest disclosure. And so let's just say that you came to counseling with me because your wife found that you'd been looking at porn. She did a little history thing, and she challenged you, and you finally admitted, yeah, I've been having little struggles here and there, yada yada yada. And so you come to see me, and one of the things that we're going to do here, we're going to do what I call a full disclosure. Guys are going, well, what do you mean full disclosure? Well, you're going to tell your story, the whole story of what she needs to know so she knows what she's actually knowing she needs to forgive. So I'm making it up here because I don't know your stories, don't know who you are. It's likely better that way in some ways, but so let's just say that, you started dating her, I don't know, it's 19 or 20, but yeah, after you were dating for a bit, you went to a couple strip clubs with some buddies. You actually had a rendezvous at a friend's wedding with one of the other, one of the bridesmaids or something, and it got a little bit involved, or maybe went all the way with sex. But you're already dating your wife. But see, what's got to happen is you got to do a full disclosure. Tells the story about, yeah, I started looking at porn at 11 and I was pretty regular at it, by 14, and it was mostly on my phone or whatever. You're telling the story, but But you understand this document here called Coming Clean is all about you, gentlemen, telling the story clear enough, full enough that, frankly, your wife knows what she's forgiving you for. What you don't want to have is progressive disclosure, where you say, honey, that's everything. And then 3 weeks later, she asks this question and she looks at you and she goes, you did, didn't you? You go, well, yeah. Well, why didn't you tell me? I asked you. You said that was everything, right? That's progressive disclosure, which means you tell a little more, little more, little more. You don't want to hurt her. You don't want to hurt her, so you're just going to tell her this because you don't want to hurt her. That's baloney. That's like reopening the stitches every time. And so you got to come clean. And in this document here, it talks about why come clean. It talks about how to come clean. It talks about the values of coming clean. And without a doubt, if you came to see me within the first 3 weeks, the guy's on a journey to start writing out, and it could be like just a page, page and a half. But believe me, it's not fluff. It's not light. It's not shallow. You're going to talk about all the things that you did that were inappropriate, basically from puberty to present. Well, my wife already knows about some things. Then it's easy to tell her. If she already knows you slept with 3 other people in college, no big deal. I slept with 3 people in college. You know, one I dated for a while and we were intimate likely about, 10 or 15 times. The other ones were just kind of one night stands, whatever. You tell the story. You say, well, she already knows. Well, tell her the story. There's nothing to worry about. Just tell the story. Tell your story from here to here. From then, back there in puberty, till present. And by the way, if you were sexually abused as a kid before 11, 12, tell the story. Because that helps explain a lot of things. Yeah, and just so you know, everybody in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, where I live, knows that I'm the reconciliation guy. I help people put their marriages back together. It's what I do. So when I talk about coming clean, it's not because I'm going to try to blow things up, just the opposite. If your wife is going to have the courage, and God bless her, I want to help her with that, the courage to forgive and move on and try to rebuild the trust, you need to come clean. It's only fair. She's got to know what she's forgiven. And so, yeah, the value of honest disclosure, coming clean, the reasons for it, how to do it, and why is all in the document Coming Clean. I'm going to ask you to grab the one that says advice for advocating spouses. Because if you're me, I'm pretty sensitive to what I'm speaking. If you're a guy here, you're saying, oh, crying out loud, it feels like I'm getting pounded. I'm not here to pound you. If you knew what I do, I fight for guys who've made some of their worst mistakes. I don't give up on people. I love you. God's got a plan for you. He wants to redeem you. He wants to free you. And there's no disgust in this. It's just, there's a better way. I'm calling you up. I'm calling you up. I'm going to call you to greatness in Jesus' name. That's my heart. So I feel the fact, all the things a wife gets to expect, and all I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this and that, and I'm a likely addicted liar too, and yeah, that's reality. But now for the wives, I'm going to give you some advice that focuses more on you, not on him. The one about what's fair to expect, it is fair to expect that. Any program that's worth its salt is going to have the guy heading in that direction. So here's some advice for advocating spouses. That means for wives who really want to be an encouragement and an advocate who are going to fight for their husbands, not fight against him. So you need to refocus on God yourself. You got to put God first in this recovery. And God, what, what do you need to do in my life? Where do I need your strength, your patience, your grace, your perseverance? Pray sincerely and ask God to help you. Maybe pray with your husband, with him and for him, but refocus on God. Yeah. Secondly, you gotta love strong and love long. Um, the women listening won't like to hear this, but my experience is that stopping the sexual addiction of the relapsing of the PMO cycle, porn, masturbation, orgasm cycle, uh, the actual behavioral acting out part, it'll likely be 18 months to 2 years to put that behind you and really have freedom. But to deal with the inner pain, what I call soul wounds, the hurts that are there that are unaddressed, that are often causing the guy to keep feeling down on himself and go back to the porn for a sense of kind of his, drug of choice, his dopamine cocktail. Um, yeah, it's going to take 2 to 3 years to really work through all the issues, to get really free to see himself as God sees him. We say all the guys that check in our group, I'm going to quote what it is. When they all check in their small groups of 4 to 6 guys, they say, "My name is Dave, and I'm a much loved child of God on my journey to sexual freedom by the help of God and my brothers here." See, you're a much loved child of God. And that's what we want you to see yourself as, men and women. You're going to have to, that's a long journey. When I say 18 months to really have the addictive side behind you, and then 2 to 3 years to get rid of all the healing and hurts that have been accompanied this for, who knows, 20, 25 years. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that's all counseling all the way through. I'm not saying that. But women, you're going to have to love long and love strong, because it's not going to be an easy road. Thirdly, remember it's his journey. Let the Lord work in his light. It's your man's journey towards freedom. Yes, it affects you. It affects the family, affects your well-being. But you got to come back to, listen, he's got to work this out. You can't twist his arm enough to get going. You can't wish him more. You can't guilt him more. Yeah, no. It's his journey. It's not your fault. I got to let him work this out. And half of you wants to kill him for causing all the hurt. Half of you wants to give up on him. But release him to do the work he needs to do. Number 4, you do need to disclose your hurt. And yes, there'll be a time that you need to disclose it to him and how what he's done has impacted you. But be careful on kind of grinding him, every other day and blowing up at him because he's such an idiot, because look all the pain he's caused you. It's wiser to maybe get yourself a counselor and have a couple of good friends that you can go for a walk with and cry with and pray with. You're going to disclose your hurt, and maybe once a week they'll have a talk about some frustration you're having, but it's really not wise to just kind of willy-nilly just kind of let her fly when you're frustrated by something. Be really careful. Number 5, you got to be a recovery ally. You're going to ask the hard questions, but you got to do it without shaming or condescending. And even asking, what can I do to help you overcome this? When I train, I have a 2-day seminar for women whose husbands are addicted to porn. It's called Purge stands for Partner Encouragement Recovery Group Experience. It's a 11-hour psychoeducational seminar for wives whose husbands are addicted to porn or beyond sexual addiction to other things. And you can spend your life being an adversary to him or an advocate. There's a lot of options in between. But and by the way, being an advocate doesn't mean, oh, it's okay. I don't care. I forgive you. No, we're not talking about easy forgiveness. We're not talking about some version of excusing. No, he's got to deal with this. He's got him. But remember, you've got to over and over come to the point where you got to be his ally. Find a way to be brave, to encourage, pray for them a ton, listen to his recovery game plan, but be an ally, be an advocate, not his adversary. And not easy, by the way, because he's caused a lot of hurt. Remember the smoking gun? He just put a bullet in your chest, and then you got some counselor from Canada saying, walk in grace. Number 6, walk in grace. Yeah. Got to be careful here because what you focus on grows. So if you focus on his failures, that's all you're going to see here. You got to partner with God of what God wants to do in your husband's life. Don't partner with the enemy, Satan, and what he wants to see happen. He wants to see him destroyed. He wants to see your marriage blow up. He's the accuser, and he keeps reminding your husband that he's a piece of garbage. He's just shrouded him in shame and guilt. And you've got to get a new plan, a grace plan that doesn't excuse. We're not saying it's okay if he relapses. No, we're not saying that. But be careful on, if he has a setback, you take one finger off, like be careful on walking in judgment. For you personally, it's important to get smarter, understand all you can about the sexual addiction. Read some of the recommended resources on porn recovery and discuss what you're learning with your spouse, ask what they're learning too, but just grow there. That's one of the biggest benefits of the 11-hour seminar. I spent about 2 hours just explaining addiction to the women and helping them understand that in most cases, these guys are getting addicted at 11, 12, 13. If you think of 11-year-olds in 5th grade in Canada, 12-year-olds, 6th grade, they're just getting into middle school, and many of them are already pretty regular frequenters to looking at porn. And sadly, they don't have a good enough coaching from mom and dad, not enough protection software in the house, and they are full on addicted by 16. And then you marry them at 26, and you wonder why this is a bit of a problem that he can't get rid of. It's complicated, and it's not like he wants it anymore. He wants to be able to walk free. But get smarter, learn all you can. Work with others. Get yourself your own accountability partner, prayer partner. I don't want you to be the cop, remember, but help him by affirming him. Yeah, like if he says, yeah, I'm going to get that Dave guy to be my accountability partner, you said, not Dave, he's a flipping loose cannon. I don't trust him at all. That's not a good accountability partner. Your wife's got to say, hey, I like that guy. That I trust him. Yeah, okay, good. You're going to go with Bill. Bill's, I'm good with that. Okay, because she's got to trust that Bill's going to do the job. But if it's flaky Dave, she won't want him as the accountability partner. So work with others. Trust that person. Number 9, you need to find yourself some support, a trusted friend, maybe another partner. But be careful if you share stories that you don't start building more pain because you take on other person's pain. Sometimes it's good to have maybe one friend who understands the porn addiction impact of a husband on the wife. And sometimes it's good just to have a godly woman in your life, ladies, that can just pray with you and love you and keep you in the right direction. And don't tell the whole world. Just make sure that he knows who's going to know. Um, Number 10, monitor your disposition, women. I find a way to become the advocate, not the accuser. That kind of goes with number 6, walk in grace. But as hard as it might be, they need to still believe that you believe in them and still love them in spite of their failure. In some cases, that may not be easy, but wise to have that perspective, especially if he's worked hard to come clean and make amends with you and apologize, giving that full disclosure and then asking for your forgiveness. Really important for you to move towards forgiveness. You'll realize that forgiveness is a gift to yourself because what you don't forgive, you end up just ruminating on it, ruminating on it, ruminating on it. It just continues to simmer in the background and you never get free. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of disappointment, a lot of hurt, a lot of bitterness. Take it to God and ask God to help you move beyond that because resentment will totally destroy you and him and the relationship. But it's not easy to forgive. But before you move in forgiveness, he needs to do the full disclosure and make amends, which is apologize for all the hurts he's caused. Then you have to bravely, number 12, start the rebuild. You got to start risking to go for a drive with him, go for coffee with him. You may be so hurt that you don't even want to do that, don't even want to reach out to them. But yeah, the point is that it's wise for you to move beyond forgiveness, start taking steps towards rebuilding something good between you. Um, he's got a long list of what he's got to be working on. This is one that'd be good for you, that you'd be willing to open the door for a date or matter of fact, guys, if you're listening again, hopefully you are. Um, Everything you ask after it's come out that you've been involved with porn or acting out or whatever, every interaction with them, you ask permission. You just can't walk up and give them a hug. That's not fair. Hey, you're okay if I give you a hug right now? She says yes, go ahead. If she says no, you say that's fine. I know you're working things through. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You wouldn't be withholding affection right now if I hadn't hurt you. So it's on me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Did you hear how I've said that? So, guys, ask permission. Can I give you a hug? Can I hold your hand? Do you want to go for coffee? Do you want to go on a date this weekend? I'll plan one if you want. And just make sure you ask permission. Yeah, this is now for the wife, beyond the starting the rebuild, rediscover intimacy. You know, once you've discovered that your partner, your husband has, especially if they've acted outside the marriage, that could be really hard to get over. And be careful on using no sex as a punishment. That's not healthy. Be careful on withholding affection, because just start doing your best by being kind, and then occasionally the hugs, and then you go for walks. You start to feel more comfortable together, and then at some point you want to re-engage intimately. And for some women, it's easier to move into intimacy than others. And no matter what, the first time you're going to be intimate after the whole discovery, disclosure, or whatever, it's going to be a little bit complicated. It's going to be emotionally, your mind might be all over, and so you might as well just get it behind you at some point. But you're not hearing a man saying, "Start having sex with your husband right away." I didn't say that, did I? Read it again when you're ready. In the meantime, 14 women, it'd be really wise for you to face your own junk. And you say, well, what do you mean? I mean, this is all about him and his addiction, him acting out and all the hurt he's caused me. Yeah, but not a bad time if he's working on his soul wounds for you to look at yours. Have some sessions about you. If you've had some real difficulties, family of origin, if you were abused as a kid, if you made some stupid mistakes in your college years, whatever, you may be having some baggage that's unresolved. Take some time. He's working on his stuff. At least he should be. And we want you to do that as well. And finally, if you sense that you and your spouse are still not working things out, kind of like after about 3 months, really important to get to counseling. Now, we already assumed that you had something and that he's in a group and you've had some support by people who understand. But if it continues to unravel and not go well, um, yeah, be wise to get to a counselor who understands sexual addiction and its impact. Because there's two sides. There's the sexual addiction recovery, and then the other side is the partner betrayal trauma. Partner, that's my spouse. Betrayal, they betrayed me. Trauma, it's like a PTSD almost. And there's a lot of hurt there because the person that you're supposed to be able to feel safe with and you trust and said they love you has been betraying you in this way. And that's really hard. So there's some going deeper questions that would be good for you to pen out and then talk through together. Um, I'm going to refer to some of the documents here, and because I think you're going to be getting a package because you're on this call. I think I got about another 5 documents that you'll be getting. I'm going to refer to each of them. Okay. There's one called Stay in Your Lane. Stay in your lane is when you're on the recovery journey. It's written to the men, but actually applies to both. Men, don't try to woo your wife. Don't try to encourage her what she needs to be working on. Don't try to be telling her you got to forgive me when you're going to forgive me. Don't be trying to tell your wife a thing. You've got to stay in your lane and do what you need to be doing. And frankly, shut up and just do your work. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't try to tell her what she needs to be doing. She's trying to decide whether she wants to even get back in the car with you because it's like you're driving along in this relationship and then she discovers that you've been looking at porn or worse, and then you have this like a endo rollover and she's hanging upside down in her seatbelt after this crazy accident she didn't even know was going to happen, and you were driving crazy and she might even warned you and she doesn't want to get back in the car with you. So men, just stay in your lane and do your work. Now ladies, there's a part to which, and it's not written to you, but stay in the lane applies to you too. Because you got to understand, you can't change him. So you got to do the work of healing, facing the trauma, forgiving, advocating. That's your lane. And praying your head off, that's part of your lane too. You each have a lane to stay in. So that's stay in your lane. There's a document called Wingman and another document called All Clear. And that's to give you an idea of what it looks like for your husband. This is for the guys. All Clear is the document that says, what does all clear mean? And believe me, I speak maybe pretty straight as a Canadian, but you can't, there's no misunderstanding what all clear means. It is all clear. It is no doubt of what it means. So when a husband says all clear 147, everybody in this whole discussion, having read that document, knows what that means. So the all clear document. The other one is Wingman. Wingman is the accountability partner. And I actually made that document to kind of make it foolproof. Well, I don't know really what to do. Well, now you just read this and you ask these questions and it's it. That's what you do. You do that once a week And then he's going to check in with you every day that he's all clear day 2, all clear day 3, all clear day. And I got guys that are still checking in with their buddies all clear 3,417 days. I have 1,000 day club, men who get to 1,000 days free. And when we get another guy, 1,000, we just had one about 6 weeks ago, hit 1,000 days free. That's like 3 years, people. And so we welcome them into the 1,000 day club. And all the other guys that are 1,000 days clean, they tell him how they're staying clean and they're 2,000 or 3,000 days clean. It's a good journey. It's a brotherhood. It's a wonderful thing to have a good wingman who really cares for you. A little homework for the wives if they want. It's called Facing Your Husband's Porn Problem. 21 questions that you can work through on your own. Process those with a counselor. That would be good. Maybe the last one, which I'll pass on commenting more than this. Maybe it was the other one I should have actually worked through a little more. But what to do when your wife is triggered? So your wife has a flashback or a bad feeling. Maybe she knows that the person drove that you had a bit of an affair with or whatever was driving a white Honda. And she saw a white Honda and she's triggered. Now what do you do? Well, that document is pretty clear of what to do when your spouse is triggered by something. Yeah. I am I'm hurting for those that are listening because I feel like I know your story, even though I've never seen your face. I love you. I care about you. And my prayer is that these would be good resources to help you on the journey as a couple to find full freedom from the addiction and a beautiful God-ordained closeness that would honor him. Thanks for listening.
Dr. Dave Curry, thank you for sharing wisdom, experience, and hope and boldness in this area. This was a crash course, and I can say this is what we meet. This is something of the world that we live in. We're going to open for some Q&A questions. So people who are watching, they can write in their questions, and I will bring them forth. And you can, when you write your question, you can choose to be anonymous. But we won't. If you don't find that, we won't read any names, of course. Marcus, who is monitoring this, he will send me the questions. And I am so sorry I didn't introduce Christina. When we started, her camera wasn't on, but she is also our colleague. She works with Marcus and I. So we're going to take some questions, Dave, at the very end here. And the first question I would like to ask you is, would you, in your experience, say that women, when they are told of their husband's addiction towards pornography, they could say, "I knew something was wrong"?
Yeah. There was a study coming out of Britain, likely about 15, 18 years ago now. There is a part of the women's brain at the back on one side that actually recognizes similar patterns. And you often hear the expression women's intuition. There actually is something actually physiological about the possibility that there is a women's intuition, that they start to feel things because there's a connection loop happening with something similar. And so when a woman says, I just don't feel good about this, I just don't, there's something wrong, I would guess 9 out of 10 times there is something that's not right.
Hmm.
And so, I just say, hey, Bill, if I'm the lady, hey, Bill, just be honest with me. Are you struggling with porn again? I just want to figure out how we can get beyond this, So, but I think it's there.
Here's another one. How should you handle disclosure about porn addiction when dating? I've been avoiding dating because I don't want to bring this into a marriage.
Yeah. Well, first of all, whoever you are, I'm hugging you because I don't want you to bring it into marriage either. Matter of fact, one of my dear friends, his son kind of wanted Uncle Dave to perform the wedding because I've done 275 weddings. And I said, well, just to be straight, I'll only do the wedding if you're 1 year clean of porn. Why would I want you to marry a Sally and that Sally has to carry this into their future? I want you to be clean. And so right now, for the man who asked that question, first of all, I'm really proud of you that you want to have this clean. Now, work your butt off and get into the group. Do whatever you need to do to get it behind you. And if it's dealing with soul wounds, whatever you need to do, just do it because it's an amazing gift to your spouse to be able to say, hey, listen, just I've struggled with porn quite a bit in the past, but I'm actually I'm 14 months clean right now. I haven't looked at it for 14 months, and I don't want to ever look at it again. I just want to honor you, and now I want you to know that that's where my intention is to stay clean. So I like that.
Right. Do you know about this is a question. I've signed on to a program called Unchained Leader. Have you heard about it? And is that program similar to your program?
Yeah. So first of all, there's programs coming from all over the world. This particular one I can't speak to, so I don't know. But there's a lot of well-meaning people, good people, and without me actually kind of looking at their material, and I'm not saying that ours is the one. What I do know is ours is well researched, and I've got lots of schooling behind me, and I've in Canada, I'm the most highly trained person in sexual addiction therapy. And so I could like evaluate the program, but that particular one I don't know. But there's a lot of really good programs coming out, and there's some core things that are the same in kind of all of them. The husband needs to be accountable to somebody, needs to be in a program where he's working through these things, got to work through his soul pain, his soul wounds, these kind of things. And again, remember this, well, it's a 90-day program. If that's it, it's not good enough.
Mm.
Anyway, go ahead.
Could you say something about pornography and loneliness?
Mhm.
There's a long question, but it's about loneliness and using porn as a crutch in your life,
Yeah.
handling loneliness. Could you address something around that?
Yeah, the problem with that is if you are see there's a soul wound there that isn't addressed with loneliness. Remember, the opposite of addiction is connection. So that person who's facing loneliness needs to connect with others. Real people bring healing. And so I need to become more vulnerable. I need to reach out and make some friends. I need to get into a care group. I need to do whatever I need to do to be with people. Because I tell people when they're tempted to act out, whether it's look at porn or whatever, when they're tempted to act out, move towards people. Move towards people. And so the person who's using pornography and acting out. Remember, it's pornography, which is usually porn, masturbation, orgasm. They're getting a kick, so they're going to get more addiction. They're going to get more addicted to it, and they're not going to solve their loneliness by the porn. And so I would say that you're just delaying what needs to happen, which means to take steps towards working through your own issues of, I would, if you came to me, I would say, let's figure out what's going on. Why are you lonely? Why are you insecure? What's going on? And get behind that because there's a soul wound there that's preventing them from getting close to somebody.
Mm.
And it doesn't have to be a husband or wife. It could be just if it's a guy, it could be a buddy that I go biking with. I mean, like it's somebody I'm known. I have to be known and still loved. right? I have to be known by somebody. Remember, the opposite of addiction is connection. And the addiction pulls me away from people, and I need to move towards people. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Um, the level of trust in my marriage has been broken many times. Can it be fixed?
Mhm. Well, trust is in your court, whoever asked in this question. Trust is in your court. And you can say, I can never trust him. Or you can say, I choose to trust him. I love him and I want this to work. I don't like the betrayal that it feels like when he has to go to porn or he's struggling, he relapses into porn. Yeah, I mean, I empathize with him, but trust is something that you can choose. Not to blindly, foolishly, oh, it doesn't matter. I trust you, and then he's acting out 3 days later. No, no, we gotta get some serious help. Gotta work this through. Gotta figure out how we're gonna get beyond this if there's a cycle going on for sure. But can you ever trust again? You can decide that.
Hmm.
I may trust again, but it might have a few boundaries, but I'm still going to trust. And remember, if you don't trust, it hurts you too. Well, yeah, but him acting out hurts me. I get that. But remember, just make sure that you're not an adversary. Be an advocate. That's not a person who excuses it, but be an advocate, not an adversary.
Hmm.
And yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit.
Right. All right. Here's a very practical question. When keeping track of progress, do you include everything? Example, no porn or masturbation for 2 months, but the gaze linger on a yoga pants in the gym. Does that reset the count to day zero?
Yep. Don't hate me. But I don't BS. I'm a straight shooting Canadian. And
Yes,
so
you
here's
will.
the deal. Second long looks kill. Okay. So if I'm working out at the gym, I used to do much more when I was younger and when I was running marathons and stuff. I don't hit the gym too often anymore. But there's always going to be a sweet Sally in a man's eyes that is, boy, she's kind of attractive, right? It's one thing to notice her, but it's the second look that kills, what I tell the guys. And so, hey, I mean, if there's five of us on the screen that you can see here, all the leaders of your team here, and if we're walking through a mall in Oslo, we could all see, gee, that's a pretty young girl who's pushing that stroller there. Boy, she could have a few more clothes on, frankly. We would all see that. We would all see that. We can't not see it. It's there. But if you all saw me going like this as she goes by, right? You'd go, what the heck? And so it's choosing the second look. It's choosing to look at that's a pretty girl. There's the truth. She's a pretty girl, well developed, whatever you want to say. I've seen that, I know that. Now I'm going to go on with my life. And by the way, if you're wanting some real encouragement and you like what you got here today, go to doingfamilyright.com under recovery. And under recovery, I have teaching videos and I speak for about 30 to 35 minutes. And there's someplace around 300 talks now, 300. So I actually answer this question all about the second look and all. So you could scroll through that and say, oh, this looks interesting, and you could watch. And if it's boring after 5 minutes, turn it off, whatever. But there's so many resources there, all on sexual addiction recovery. Okay,
Well, Dr. David Curry, we have one final question. Uh,
good.
and this is also a practical question about how can I solve the issue when installing blocking software is hard to do because of my work VPN. My work is dependent on my work computer. Do I have to take some time off work or change job? Have you met this
Yeah.
dilemma?
Yeah. So what has to happen is this. If he can't install the software to protect his work computer because it's connected to a network or whatever, then we have the brave husband who wants to keep his job, but he's going to go to his boss and say, boss, we need to talk something through here. I love my wife and I've struggled with pornography quite a bit, and it's caused a lot of hurt in our marriage. I'd like to put this protection software on now, but we've been told we can't put on these other apps or whatever. Um, can can I, if I purchase on my own, can I have a supplementary computer that has this software on it and still connect to our company web or whatever? But you see what has to happen is the only reason that you need to quit that job is if you're flirting with somebody at the office. Then get the heck out of Dodge, because that's no good. But let's see if there's a way around this. Let's see if there's and if the work computer can't be safe. Usually, you can actually ask the IT department of your company, could you put a safeguard on so that I can't get to these questionable sites? That's scary because you're going to be thinking, I might lose my job. Well, you were talking already about maybe I should quit my job anyway. Well, I don't want you to have to, but you got to figure out a way to, because if you've been accessing, first of all, it's pretty dangerous because I've worked with 3 people in the last 5, 6 years who've lost their job because they're looking at porn on the work computer. So wouldn't it feel more integrous to go and say, hey, listen, I just want to be upfront here. I've struggled a little bit with porn and we'd like to put this protection software on the work computer. Is that okay? And they say no. Then is there any way that the IT people can block me from questionable sites? Yes. Can we block me from, whatever, 9 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning? Whatever. I don't know. But solve a problem.
Dave,
If
you're
I,
radical. You're
yeah,
radical, and we
if,
love it.
if I said, I will give you $1,000, $1,000 American, even not even Canadian, which is another 30%, you know that. And if I say, I'll give you $1,000 if you solve this at work, isn't it funny how there'd be a little more motivation to try to talk things through? Anyway, sorry, I jumped in there.
No, that's great. We need to take one more question, and then we're going to give Runa to end this off. The question is, how do I find the wounds behind my porn addiction? It's a big question.
Yeah, no. I mean, practically, if you're coming to see me, I give you a document called, dealing with your baggage, and I got 100 things on there. And it even has room for you to write something else that's not on there, because if you read all those through, you'll think there may be one other 2 things that aren't on there. Because I haven't got them all on there. I'm sure there's more. But you just have the counselor talk through, like who's hurt you in your life? Where's your biggest pains in your life? Usually who's hurt you, you have names flashing in your mind, right? And so it has to do with who's hurt you, who's lied to you, who's caused the greatest pain in your life. Who do you have a hard time forgiving? Anything happened to you before age 12, emotional, sexual, physical abuse. It's all about, parents fighting, parents blaming you, sibling rivalry. I got 100 things on there, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that particular journey, you could say, and you can use the word soul pain or soul wounds might be better, and just say to your counselor friend, hey, listen, I'd like to go on a journey to really understand my soul pain, my soul wounds, so that I can walk in greater freedom. Because what we do is when the pains come up, we'll, go drink them off, or we'll go, sniff them off, we'll go smoke them off, we'll do something to create a sedative, the drug of choice, and it's often the acting out with the PMO cycle, because you do get a bit of a buzz and relief for about 2 minutes, but then you end up feeling more guilty and shame after that. So that doesn't all it does is just exacerbate the problem.
Dr. Dave, thank you again for sharing and being very practical, and giving very good advice. And we are going to send out these handouts to all the participants in this webinar. So that will be in your email very shortly. So thank you very much for sharing.